Hi, Amy. Welcome to the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here today.
Yes, we're excited.
You.
Of course. Yeah, we're excited to have you. I'm looking forward to us kind of talking about your specific niche as far as what you tend to work on most with clients. What I would love to do first is if you could kind of give our listeners a general overview of what you're currently doing in the health and wellness space, and then we can kind of back it up and talk about how you got started.
My main niche right now is helping people heal leaky gut. So the easiest way for me to explain that is I help my clients heal leaky gut in an effort to alleviate those symptoms and diseases, as we are learning, in getting their life back, to be quite honest, and to get back to feeling like I feel like there's something to live for, right? Because I think so many of my clients are coming to me in desperation. Mm-hmm. By the time they reach out to me, they're so tired of feeling sick and tired. I know that's a cliche that you hear, but it's true, right? And so I usually get them in that stage, and we work on healing the gut first, and then it's. I feel very fortunate because I can see them truly get their life back, step by step by step, by the end of the program that I go through with them.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's such a common theme that we talk about within, these podcasts, but also, within Equal Life is so many clients that reach out to a health coach with our capacity to kind of address underlying root causes have kind of been put through the conventional ringer already. Maybe they've seen other, kind of functional in-between practitioners, and they're just like at the end of their rope. And I don't even think it's aired yet, but we recorded a podcast and we were talking about how sometimes the first step is just like restoring hope and the kind of ability for somebody to feel like there could be a resolution in sight, right? Because they've kind of been burnt with other, processes in the past. And so we are so fortunate to kind of be that person for so many.
And that's so true. I think people need to know that one, you're going to be okay, mm-hmm. and you're going to be okay. And I can help you, but you're going to get your health back. It may take time and it might take investment. But to know that the light will be at the end of the tunnel, because I think, again, we're being so often told that this is just what you're going to have to manage the rest of your life. And we're being, diagnosed frequently that then they just kind of give up hope on thinking that they can get better, even though they feel so low, right? And it's not even just their health that they feel low. It's often their mood then is the thing that I find that I'm working with even more so, because they've lost hope. So I think you nailed it when you said we provide them that hope, and then, ultimately the empowerment to do what it takes to get their health back.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So can you share with us, is this kind of something that you've always done? Have you always been in the health and wellness space? Is it something that you transitioned to? If so, kind of what were you doing before and what made you choose, an IHP route? If you would give us a little backstory.
No, I have not been a health coach for, I just actually resigned from a 25-year career as a high-level, elite-level gymnastics coach. So I was in a kind of a different world, right? I was coaching just in a different arena. So I spent 25 years doing more intense training athletes. And through that, because it was such a high level program that I was working in, my stress response, I think over the past 20 or so years has been, I think I've been in that chronic state of stress, just from how I'm wired to the results-based industry that I was in, and especially at the highest level. That when I was 36 years old, I can tell you the exact age, I started having sudden panic attacks. I started shedding hair dramatically. I was exhausted no matter how many hours of sleep I was receiving. And I was very fit looking for somebody my age. So on the outside, I was kind of like, I looked healthy, I looked fit, but when I went to the doctor, because I was like, something's wrong. In about a 10-minute conversation, he sized me up as having anxiety. And as you know, I've always had to backtrack. I've always had an interest in wellness. So even as a 10-year-old gymnast myself, I was researching nutrition. So it's always been something that I've been interested in. I just didn't know the route, so I graduated with a degree in psychology, but I wanted to work with athletes with eating disorders. So I always had this kind of, interest. It took me a long time to finally get how I wanted to do it. And so to get back to 36 years old, he sized me up with anxiety. So because of my interest in stuff, I went back and I did research. I was like, I am not taking that prescription, being that, there were certain things as a an athlete over the years, wanting to be fit, the negative side effects were too much out of my control. Mm-hmm. So I didn't do it. And I did my own research. And long story short, I realized I had iron deficiency anemia. And he wanted to put me on what would have band-aided my emotional outlet, sure, it may have made me calmer, but I would have still been shedding hair. I still would have been having possibly heart palpitations, and all the effects of the iron deficiency anemia. So I corrected the anemia. And again, I found, I was calmer. I was having panic attacks on escalators. I would not go on an escalator for months, because I was convinced I was going to have another panic attack and those kind of things, and now I know more. Now I know blood sugar instability, and it was actually leaky gut, back then, which was causing my iron deficiency, and it was gluten intolerance. So now that I know more, I can connect dots. But I went to the doctor and all he said was anxiety, take the meds. So that kind of stemmed me. And I first started with the the Institute for Integrative Nutrient, IIN. I can't think of the name.
Yes, I always mix it up too. Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Yeah.
I started with them in 2013. So this goes back to 2013. And then 2017, I did the hormonal health specialty. And then I did my Gut Thrive. And then I came across IHP I would say 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know the exact date. And I was so interested in doing it. And I kept thinking, this sounds like what I want. And you think, I keep going back, everything's a matter of time, right? Mm-hmm. So now I'm taking the IHP course, level 1 and level 2. And it's just really adding to what I've already done, especially the gut program. And it's moving me in the direction of now I have all this information to help people not go through what I had to go through, to finally figure out, like we just said, I was like, it was leaky gut, which caused the iron deficiency, blah, blah, blah. And I feel so fortunate now that I can help people resolve that and provide a space to be heard, without judgment and safe, but to provide them steps to actually, honestly, get their life back. Because I can remember saying, I just want to feel normal. I just want to feel normal again. But I wasn't being heard, in that respect. I had to be my own advocate and do my own research and demand certain tests be done. That now I feel lucky. And so that's where my passion to go even further into this career. Long story short, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. And the truth is we even, say you had seen the doctor and they were like, oh, you're anemic, here, take iron. Mm-hmm. It's still kind of like slight Band-Aid, right? Like you went root cause, like, okay, well, so why am I anemic? Okay, there's leaky gut. Well, what's causing my leaky gut? Okay, it's a gluten sensitivity, right? Like we can kind of peel back these layers when we're trained to do so in a way that allows somebody to not have to either green or conventional Band-Aid things on an ongoing basis and feel like they've kind of really resolved the imbalance and also in turn, resolved the symptoms.
Yes.
And it's kind of what allows somebody to get off like that hamster wheel of always chasing a symptom or, an ailment or a mood disorder, and really kind of gain some stability in their life.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think when you resolve those things, it's like you just, again, you feel more stable, and you realize like, yeah, it's like you were saying, you can't keep band-aiding these symptoms. We have to start going like, but why? And to empower people to ask those questions, right? But why? But why? And oftentimes you can be possibly your doctor's worst nightmare in moments. But if you don't, I feel like you have to do that at this day and age. There's reasons why, because, doctors are having to fit so many people into their practice in such a short time, right? So they're under the gun. And that's the beauty of all of this, is to learn to work, in coordination. It's not to say one's right or wrong, right, but it's to say, I understand like doctors cannot provide the hour consultation to go into your life, right? And so they're doing what they can do. They're doing their job. And I think that's why, IHP and any other courses that are offering the opportunity to teach and to help other people become health coaches, to serve as that middleman now that is able to take somebody from this, serve them in the middle, and allow them to now be in control on the other side of the equation. So it's like, I don't want to, say Western medicine is not important, because it is, it's absolutely needed. But now, and it's to see from where it's gone from 2012, when I started the course, and to where it's gone to now. That's wonderful, because I think 2012, a health coach, that was kind of like, yeah, you haven't done the education. What do you know? But I think everyone's evolving in a way that now, integrative, right? It's being health coaching certifications and extending, you can't stop learning. That's the most important part. But it's being viewed credibly now, to now allow people to receive both sides of care. And I've actually had a lot of clients who have worked with me, but they're working with their doctor side by side, and so it makes me feel comfortable, and I know it makes them feel comfortable as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really
and so to see yes.
Yeah, because we're not doctors, and they're not health coaches. Like they know lots of stuff that we don't know, and we know stuff that because of the system that they've been educated in, they don't necessarily, have as good of a handle on. And so oftentimes it's just the complement of, this plus that, that can be incredibly beneficial, and kind of getting that well-rounded support for a client, I think can, be so beneficial. What I would love to chat about next is, could you kind of explain to our listeners, I find that unless somebody kind of knows a lot about health and wellness and kind of can make this very clear, like gut, mood, which it sounds like that's kind of a little bit of your passion, is kind of how gut-based health will affect oftentimes mood and other symptoms. But a lot of people are kind of like, what? Like the health of my intestines is going to, cause my anxiety. A lot of people that already come from some of that background will understand that, and they'll be like, yep, okay, let's dive into it. But do you find that there's clients who are kind of like, that concept is completely foreign to them, and it takes a little bit of, kind of education and explaining?
Yes. And I've been fortunate enough, to be honest. I've had some great clients that have just trusted the process. But they don't really associate, how can my gut be causing my anxiety or my low mood? And that's where you take them through, because I feel the program that I have is a 5-step protocol. And it's literally, don't give them too much information at one time. Just help them by giving them these little bits of information over time. in one-on-one sessions. And then we connect those dots together and they go, oh, I didn't realize that. So to get back to like nutrient deficiencies, to understand, and to teach them, well, when and I even use my hand just today, in fact, to explain leaky gut. I'm like, when it starts, it's a small hole, but it gets bigger, the gap gets bigger. Now we have more protein molecules into your bloodstream, which is causing the immune reaction, and it's traveling to your brain, and so it's those little ways of explaining how, a leaky gut, for instance, is allowing things to heavy metals and stuff. And in effect, it can go directly to your brain because of bloodstream. Or that now, because of leaky gut, you're not getting the nutrients and minerals that alleviate the nervous system, right? That keep it calm and keep it balanced. It's taking small frames of information and making it down on their level. But to be honest, I find like it's when they tell me a symptom and then I go, oh, this makes sense. And then I can explain it to them. This is where, but for me to say at first, like, well, your gut and brain are connected. It's like, kind of one of those. But when I do it only in like these small little increments of information over time, I find that they're able to take the information and process it and go, oh, that makes sense. Absolute sense. So spoonfuls at a time.
Yeah. And I think that that's so true with a lot of things, right? Even if you know a lot, it's, we can kind of digest so much at one time, and it can be an overwhelming process, especially if it's a client who is feeling, less hope, or is feeling like, well, none of that other stuff I tried worked. How come this is going to work? And, when you're kind of met with somebody who's deficient or burnt out, they sometimes don't even have the capacity to kind of think big picture and, kind of spoon feeding them small snippets of information over time, kind of one builds their trust, but also then builds their own knowledge, which kind of empowers them to keep going. And so it can be, such a good way to approach it, especially with someone who doesn't come in with a whole lot of, knowledge set to begin with.
Yeah. In fact, my current client, I wasn't going to be opening the door for more clients. This was probably end of April. I was like, not taking clients on until May. But she was so desperate. She was like, I have to start now, and so she was in that stage, right? Anxiety around eating because she was having so many stomach attacks. And to see just to provide her, and it was just one of those, okay, we'll make this work for you. But it's providing them, and I actually learned this in a lecture yesterday, which was so true. You have to give them a little bit of alleviation of something early on to keep them going, because once they feel a little better and then a little better, then they have that motivation, and then they build the trust even more, not just in you, but the process. But I feel like just giving them these little pieces that now they felt better than they did the week previously. Now this is a little better than the week previously. And that's where that tidbit of information comes in. But with us being able to provide a valuable, whether it's a little herb or botanical or a suggestion bedtime ritual, and then they go, wow, that really helped. That's what's going to keep them going and be able to digest what's happening throughout the process. So it's learning that as a health coach that, honestly, I keep saying this career transition for me, it's 10 years in the making. It's not I took a course, now I'm ready to go. And I was naive about that, 10 years ago. But it's a 10 years in the making, learning how to work with people, in that respect. And so it's been interesting. It's been a fun trend, and now it took me a long time to get to that point, to understand that,
Yeah. And it's interesting because were you coaching children? Was it gymnastics? Yeah.
Yeah. I was coaching anywhere. I mean, you could say I did every single age group up till sending them off to college.
Okay.
But I would say my main group, on average, I would say anywhere from 10 to 18.
10 to 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it's interesting because it's coaching, right? Like you're coaching kids to do certain, you're coaching them, whether it be with nutrition, but also obviously physically coaching them. And then this is kind of coaching adults. And oftentimes like a lot of adults I say, like, it's kind of similar to working with a child brain if they're kind of dysregulated or if they are, and so I'm curious, do you find any similarity? Is there anything that like you took from your years of gymnastics coaching and you're like, that's something I was always really good at, and you're kind of still able to do it within the realm of health coaching, and it's kind of just an aspect of being a coach in general, regardless of what you're convincing someone to try, do, achieve, those types of things?
Most definitely very fair, but you had to show up. You had to do the work to get the results. And so it's like you always had to make your athletes know that you cared about them, but you had to set a standard and you had to set a certain level of excellence depending on the type of program that you were in, but you had to stay by that, what you believed in and your standard. But as long as they knew that you cared, and that you were, as a coach, are putting in as much as you can into them as a person, and that we're in this together, to be quite honest. It's kind of like I had that approach with my athletes. You're telling me this is your goal, and I'm telling you I can help you reach your goal, but it's you who have to do at the end of the day, you have to do the work. And I'm learning this in the health coaching world. And again, those are things I had to kind of like figure out over time. And I had to actually sit back and go like, what made me really good as a gymnastics coach, and to get to the level of respect with my peers, and trust and, those kind of my standards, what made me good, and it was more of like, I stuck to what I was firm enough to require the work to get done, but yet I had a good rapport and relationship, and they respected me. Right. And I was like, how do I apply that now? Because I think early on I was trying to be, the kind, the gentle, because initially people perceive me as that, which I think I have that side to me. But then the reality is like, I have that other side that's like very disciplined myself. And it's like, you have to put in the time and the investment that it takes, and that I can't do that for you. So I'm learning how to pull that part of a gymnastics coach and put it into, because I think ultimately it's going to be what makes me my brand, I guess you could say, because it was my brand as a gymnastics coach. And I think it will be more of, what is she about? Well, you have to put in the work, but she will help you, and she will, be there for you and side by side and get you to where you would like to go together, just like I would tell my gymnasts, let me learn, I would always let them know I didn't know something. I need to research that. Let me find the answer, and I'm going to do the same. Let me look that up. Let me help you. And so I think I'm coming to figure out, even as a health coach, I'm evolving. And, but that, to get back to your question, I think that is, where I'll take from gymnastics is, and it's what got the results, and moved people forward with whatever goal they had. So similar.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great comparison. And the truth is anybody who we're going to try and coach or get them to achieve something or motivate them, right? Like the thing that, is kind of at the core of that is kind of like, are you on my side? It's just human nature to kind of want to know that other person cares and is invested. And it's not that the person cares so much that they're willing to bend over backwards and do all the work and let down their boundaries. And, now you're just like, they own you. That's not what it's about. It's about just simply knowing it was your passion for the years that you gymnastics coached to kind of get these athletes to where they wanted to be. And it's your passion now to get somebody who has lots of health-based, symptoms to, recover from it and live a really healthy, vital life. And so just kind of sharing the passion and the willingness to kind of want to help, serve, and guide them is a huge step in kind of them just allowing the process to happen. And so I think, it's any good coach that's going to coach you in anything. I don't care what it is, whether it's business, whether it's, just about anything is super important to kind of know that that person's passionate about it and they have a specific investment in your success, because that's ultimately that's why they would hire somebody else, right? If they could just do it on their own and they could find all that motivation within themselves and they knew it all, but they're looking for you to be, kind of a stern expert and set the, container of like, this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to work. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to support you. And then allowing them to kind of do the work, quite frankly, so that they can be proud of what they've accomplished and what they've gone through to kind of get to where they are. And it's not that you did it all for them. You just provided them the tools to do it. I have, clients write me emails all the time. Like, I never would have been able to, if it weren't for you.
Yeah.
And I always put it, back on them. Like, yes, I guided you and I gave you the information, but you didn't have to take it. You didn't have to work that hard. You didn't have to trust me. You didn't have to do exactly what I said. And it's oftentimes that when somebody does, they get those amazing results. Their infertility is not an issue anymore, or they, get their life back, or their mood is better stable and it saves a marriage. Like, there's so many things that people can thank you for. And it's so important to me, at least, to remind the client that there's plenty of people that choose not to fully take direction. And, they kind of just want somebody else to do the hard work for them. And those people that put in the work oftentimes get so much incredible benefit.
Yes. And like I said earlier, I think I've been fortunate to have good clients. But with that being said, I also, to your credit, I also think what makes a client say that to a good coach is that it's 100, right? You had done something well to inspire them, you know what I mean? To make them make those steps. And so I think it's a combination when that comes together. And this is what I would always say to my gymnasts, that's when the magic happens. When both people's goals are wanting, you both want the same thing. For your goal for your client is to help them achieve this state of their life, this quality of life again. And then that's their goal. Their goal is the same. That's when the magic happens. But I know what it's like to coach and you're doing like pulling along. And that's what you learn when you're early, you first start venturing out, whether it's, gymnastics coaching, like you said, or as a health coach. As a health coach, I was bending over backwards at one point, like you were saying, thinking, well, they're not going to like me if I don't, or this and that. It took me a really long time to say and to come to terms, not everyone's going to be the right client for me, and not to take things personally or to feel like you have to like, well, I can't afford that, or I just don't, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. This is what I do. This is what I offer. If you decide otherwise, I'm still here. But that took me a long time, to go from a state of desperation to ultimately change. And that didn't even work out in the end anyway. So when you talk about, it's just two people coming together at the right time. So don't discredit yourself. I always feel like, no, you had to have done something as well to inspire. There's only so many people out there, I feel, that know how to be charismatic and how to reach people in a way that does create the change. And so that's what I would always tell younger coaches and stuff like that, is like, it takes both. And so for that reason, you take your job seriously. And so you want them to take the work seriously as well. And I think when those two come together and if it's not on the same page, it's okay. One quote I live by this day and age is accept everything and expect nothing. That's something that accept everything, and it's okay. It's okay if it doesn't work out. This client decides not to work with you or whatever, because I think at the end, both people want to feel inspired, by the work together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And aligned with one another. And
Yes.
yeah. And I have people say all the time, like, it seems like there's so many health coaches. Like, can I really be a successful health coach and launch my own business? It seems like there's so many people doing it. And I always say, not everybody who needs help has, the perfect coach out there. Everybody resonates differently with specific energies. And just as much as a specific client needs a specific coach, specific coaches resonate with, certain clients. And we're kind of just all this energetic life force that kind of brings us together. And there's so many, people out there that still need help. And I always say, you're probably their cup of tea and they're waiting for you. So there's no wrong way to do it. Being kind of aligned and true to yourself kind of attracts the clientele that you kind of feel most aligned working with too.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I keep, the typical, I attract those who it's just, but I do believe in energy, what you give off, like you just said, I absolutely believe wholeheartedly in that. And that's why you just have to accept, if you get different energy, it's okay. Maybe it's not. And there's been times where it surprised me, where I got kind of a weird vibe, but then it was just okay, this person ended up being great, so I've been proven wrong. But at the same time, you're very right. It can be scary because there are so many people going into it. So you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make it? Especially in the online world, it's how do you get recognized and stuff. And that's where you have to just calm down and just do your thing. And just keep, if you believe in your message and you believe in your work, just do your thing. And over time, trust it,
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. So in the space of kind of mind, gut connection, whether it be mood, whether it be, energy and the gut, do you have, obviously you're going through IHP and so there's that and Dr. Cabral's rain barrel effect, but do you have other resources that you found that you loved, whether they're podcasts or other authors, or where you kind of, get your bulk of gut, mind-based connection? That if other listeners were kind of listening and they wanted to kind of learn more?
I definitely, having gone through the whole journeys, that was my first inspiration in terms of that gut connection. Because I had been dealing with, and I didn't mention this, but it goes back to the anxiety. Adrenal dysfunction was basically my issue. 3 bouts of that, no question. And so the adrenal dysfunction, I read, I think it was James Wilson, his book. And then I was like, oh gosh. And this is years ago.
What was the book called, Amy?
Adrenal, I think it's just called Adrenal Fatigue.
Adrenal
Fatigue. Author is, I believe, James Wilson.
Oh, yes.
And it was a great book. And so that kind of explains, somebody actually gave it to me because they were like, I think this is what you're going through. And so I read it, from beginning to end, and I read it twice. I tend to read books 2 times in a row. And so that kind of addressed the adrenal dysfunction. And then, so I started, so Krista Arecchio was the founder of the whole journey. So I started following her stuff over time. And then I did the adrenal recode program through her because I was like, but I will say, I need it one-on-one. I'm not good at the group stuff where you have the modules. So I didn't even finish it. I have the information still. But that got me going then when she offered the gut program. So I would say she's been a huge force in what I think where my career has gone, because it led me to the program for healing leaky gut and teaching me the protocol. And now going through IHP, I say this to all my friends, he is like the encyclopedia of wellness, Dr. Stephen Cabral. And I am learning so much more that's connecting what I thought they were phenomenal mentors and educational opportunity for me through the gut program. But now I'm very inspired by Dr. Stephen Cabral, because it's like, holy cow, he's just like, it's just so natural for him too, that it's making it even a stronger foundation for me. So, but I would say, I guess the whole journey, Christina Orecchio was probably, well, James Wilson then led me to Krista Orecchio, sorry. And she really got me interested in going like, okay, this is going to help a lot of people with anxiety, a lot of people, and a lot of women who have hair shedding, and they don't know why. Because I think that's a big issue that people are afraid to talk about, embarrassed, because that was me. That's vanity led me to understanding iron deficiency, freaking out that my hair was falling out. So it was really vanity that made me take those next steps at the end of the day. But it was something I was scared to talk about. And, you know, I was looking up hair extensions at one point because I was like, oh my gosh, it's never going to end. And that's the sad part, because if I had listened to the doctor, that would have still continued going on. And I wouldn't have understood why, you know, because it's not just your nervous system, you know. So anyways, that's kind of what got me more interested in kind of the gut anxiety, depression rate mode, trying to help people with the very first step to alleviating, you know, that emotional feelings of out of control. I haven't personally dealt with, I've had low mood, but I haven't personally dealt with depression as much as anxiety. But anxiety, man, it can be crippling. And it can really affect your life on so many, just that jumpiness and heart palpitations. And I mean, I think I've had every extreme of it that I understand. And I think people who are going through that just are like, help me. You know, I just want to feel okay. And so having found the connection, it's like, and I will say this, having gone through the program that I now can administer to my own clients, I haven't had anxiety in a year. And that's amazing to me, over a year. And I've had certain life experiences that would have wrecked me, you know, with my former self prior. And I truly believe that's due to the gut healing. That took me a long time to figure out how to do that. So I've said that to many people. I haven't had anxiety in over 2 years. And it's amazing to me, because it was just a normal, it would come and go, right? But it was always around. So I think that's a big passion of mine, reason too. It's because it's like, wow, I haven't experienced that. And I should have, you know, I should have had moments where I was like waking up insomniac, wired brain, with some transitioning in life, you know, ending a career. But I've been as calm as could be, for other reasons too. But, you know, I think I attribute healing leaky gut to that, with my own
addressing
anxiety.
that root cause, you know, again, fixing it at the bottom, so that you're not always like, you know, when we kind of just, even if it's okay, let's just fix the iron deficiency, you know, and that will help mood, or B vitamins. But you're still kind of like playing with this unstable, you know, field. And it's kind of like, okay, well, if I forget my vitamins, then what happens? Like maybe you know, the anxiety gets worse, but kind of being able to kind of fully resolve it at that root level is, I think, what, you know, allows you to kind of go through life changes and feel like you have more like stability, and you're kind of planted where your new normal is, in a sense.
Yeah, your new baseline.
Yeah.
You know, and where you would have been thrown off, and it would have taken you 3 months to recover. You have a new baseline and a new way that you see things. And, you know, and there's different practices, right, that get you to that place. But yeah, I think healing leaky gut was absolutely, because I did adrenal issues stuff. I was seeing a functional medicine doctor at one point, and I didn't really see a ton of results at that point, but we didn't address leaky gut. It wasn't even discussed, oddly. And so that's what's so, and I was having bouts, up and down. I had adrenal dysfunction probably yearly at some point, but I understood the symptoms, so I could get on top of certain things with a certain supplement, right? A certain supplement alleviated my cortisol or this or that. But to know, I feel like healing the gut gave me a different baseline. And life is just a little different for me now. And so, so anyways, that's.
And you're able to share that with your clients. You're able to share that inspiration, that, new you, the place where you are, with them. So I appreciate you sharing all that. If our listeners are kind of tuning in and they want to learn more about, what you do, or if they wanted to connect, where are kind of the places that you show up, whether it's social media or website, any places that you wanted to share?
I'm pretty active on, I'm trying to learn the social media world, but Amy_Blackburn_wellness is my social media. And then I do have a close Facebook group, but I have Amy Blackburn Whole Health Coach, or Amy Blackburn Wellness. I switched that on Facebook as well. I'm in the process of actually getting a new web designed through IHP. So I have one right now. It's amyblackburn.net. But I'm getting a new one. That's now that I'm officially going full time as the health coach and not just on the side. But amyblackburn.net is still in existence with my program and a way to access me and just get a gist of what I'm about, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. It was such a pleasure having you on the Integrative Health Coach Success Podcast. We appreciate you being here and sharing everything that you did with our listeners. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, Julia, reaching out and offering me this opportunity. It's been great.
Yes, our pleasure. We'll look forward to the next time we get to talk. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.